Buddy, Space Guy 720 here, and today I'm going to be talking about one of the biggest problems that beginners to Kerbal Space Program have: getting to orbit. It's a thing that we all dream for, and it's a thing that took years to accomplish in real life. Now, before we get started, make sure to like the video and subscribe, and comment if you have feedback. And so, without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so I've created two basic designs for getting to orbit. This is the more basic version, just a simple get to orbit thing. I'll explain them both in a minute. And then also, I have a slightly more advanced version for people that have tried it a few times and they know what they're doing. And this is the more advanced version. So let's go back to the basic one, and I'll explain how it works. So up here is the main capsule. It's where your Kerbal is. It has your parachute. And then it also has your heat shield. And then it has a decoupler to get rid of the rest of the rocket. It has a fuel tank to power the second stage, and a low thrust high efficiency engine. And then it has a decoupler to separate the rocket below that. Then there's the core first stage, which has two tanks and a swivel and a gimbaling rocket engine at the bottom that can rotate your rocket. Then it has 4 liquid fuel boosters on the sides. You cannot steer these. And that's the beginner's rocket. Now this is the advanced rocket. It's a bit different, as you can see. First of all, there's the main capsule, but the parachute mechanism is already different. This is a drogue chute. You can deploy it higher up in the atmosphere without it burning up, and when you're going faster as well. So it'll slow down your craft initially. Then here is a monopropellant tank for maneuvering in space easier without having to worry about running out of batteries. And then the orbital stage design is the same, except for several solar panels at the bottom, speaking of energy. The rest of the rocket is mostly the same, except for a change here. These are the fuel pipes in the fuel tanks tab, the external fuel ducts. Now, what this is complicated. It's called cross-feeding. Now, the way this works is that all of these boosters will feed off of, or all these 5 engines at the bottom will feed off of the fuel from the outer boosters. Now, when that fuel's gone, I'll separate the boosters, and the center tank will be fully fueled. So it's like launching the rocket from a higher height. So let's get started and try out the basic rocket. All right, let's lift off and see how it'll fly. Now, the first way to fly to orbit is to make sure that your speed gets up to a reasonable rate, maybe 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 meters per second. Now, the next thing you gotta do is very slowly, if you can see here, start tilting towards that 90-degree marker. Very slowly. This is called a gravity turn if you've never heard of it before. Now, to get into orbit, we need to go upwards and sideways very, very fast. The normal orbital speed for just above the atmosphere is roughly 2,300 meters per second. That's pretty fast. So, at about this altitude, I'm going to open up the throttle and stay at about 45 degrees. Now, I think I might have started the gravity turn a bit early, but that's alright. Now, I've set up the staging so that these boosters will separate, then the main one will take over, because the main gimbal one will take over, because the control surfaces are helping me steer in atmosphere for now. And we are about ready to separate. Now, what I'm doing here is I'm very slowly going down with the prograde marker. That helps. Alright, we've separated. Now, in real life, boosters do not crash like that, but still it's nothing to be worried about. So what I'm going to do now is very slowly ride this prograde vector slowly down as we build up velocity. Now, if we go to the map and bring up the nav ball, we need to wait until this rises to about 70,000 meters or higher, because that's where the atmosphere stops. Alright, so as you can see, I'm coasting up to my apoapse now. And I've burned sideways, so I'm about 10 degrees. You should be about 10 degrees by the time you're done with the basic gravity turn. We're already about 2,000 meters per second, but that speed will drop off. So I'm going to do this time warp until we exit the atmosphere. The first stage is on its last tank of fuel. That's alright. We'll still be able to use most of it on the way to orbit. In fact, we might even have put a bit too much fuel, and we'll be fine. And that's too much fuel isn't always a bad thing. Can be if you're making a giant starship, but never know. Alright, so once you're done coasting to your apogee or apoapse, what you're going to do is point yourself, right when you get to the peak of it, is point yourself directly to the side and open up the throttle to maximum. That way you're building up as much speed as possible sideways to get into orbit. As you can see, our orbital arc is rising. Now, what we need to do is wait until this periapse gets to about 70,000 meters. And we've done it. We're in orbit. Now that we've turned off the engines and we've separated the stages, we can just coast it around Kerbin as much as we like. And in fact, this rocket is probably capable of getting into lunar orbit. But if you want to see more of this sort of thing, if you want me to try getting to lunar orbit with this, make sure to like the video, subscribe, and comment for more. Thank you guys for watching. Bye.